Hello and hey, today we're going to mess around with Baldur's Gate 3. This time we have 4 more multi-classing options to explore. If you see my last video, there's a link in the cards. You'll know I covered disclaimers about how what might exist in 5th edition may not in Baldur's Gate 3 in the parts of the game no one has seen. We covered the lead system designer's Italian interview and gave multi-classing ideas from as simple as fighter barbarian to as gimmicky as 4-way level splits. Just wanted to catch you up so that you know that I have talked about some of these things already and won't continue to do so without any new information surfacing. Alright, let's jump right into the new combos. First up, Cleric 2, Sorcerer 10. Of course, going Tempest Domain and then Storm Sorcerer for both mechanical and thematic flair. Though the Draconic Bloodline can also be applied in much the same way. Really, either Sorcerer option works. Have definitely had a few people leave a comment about this one. I left it out of the original because I really did try to stay away from the caster multiclass mashups until we know about how spell levels will work when putting them together. For example, if they do combine, we'd likely get access to Chain Lightning, and with prepping the ground/enemies to be wet and therefore vulnerable to the damage, say with a quickened Create Water spell, we could do 160 lightning damage on up to 4 targets if they fail their saving throws, a casual 640 total damage. This interaction would be one of the biggest examples of why things should probably not be implemented this way, but good to be aware of if that does indeed make it to the game. The multi-class without that extreme case is still good, so I feel fine including it. If you're not sure of how it works, when you roll lightning or thunder damage once per short rest via our channel divinity, the damage can be cranked up to the maximum damage instead of rolling, making spells like Thunder Wave and Chromatic Orb tremendous candidates from level 3, especially upcasting Thunder Wave as we get higher level slots. Shatter is another great option once that spell becomes available as well. Aside from tunneling in on that specific interaction, you're going to be a high level sorcerer with 10 sorcery points, 5th level spell slots, the ability to heal yourself and allies, and heavy armor proficiency, so while it does focus on that interaction, you sacrifice very little to do it and get to be quite thematic in the process. It's a fun one. Next we have Barbarian 2, Moon Druid 10, or 3-9 or 4-8. It's another one of the multi-class options that showed up several times in the first video's comments. It's amongst the best tanks in the game while still providing all the utility of being a high-level druid both in and out of combat. It takes a bit of setup once combat starts, as Raging and Wild Shaping are both bonus actions when we are Circle of the Moon. The spin there is that this frees up an action in the first round to aid the party or get some quick damage in with our spell slots, since we won't lose concentration until we rage the following turn. And it must be said, that's only if we want to enter the turbo tank mode. Situationally, even with 2 to 4 level invested into Barbarian, you'll want to stay out of Rage and even Wild Shape from time to time to best assist your team. Though if you are going to take Barbarian levels and invest that, the Raging tank should absolutely be the ideal you're aiming for in 98% of situations. Thematically, I very much like the idea of a fuming Grizzly challenging all comers. It's a heavy investment for that, especially if there are some very interesting wild shapes at the upper levels, but it's just fun. Cases can be made for 2 to 4 levels of Barb, 2 for the bare minimum Rage while still letting you get to Druid 10, 3 in Barb gives you an extra Rage per long rest and the Bare Heart for tanking magical damage, and of course 4 for the ability score improvement. It was mentioned enough to be explored. It's not one that I'm super likely to play myself in the first few playthroughs, but there it is. Third on the list is an absolute abomination. No, really, you're not ready, and don't take it too seriously. Lore Bard 6, Divination Wizard 2, Wild Magic Sorcerer 1, Rogue 1, Knowledge Cleric 1, and either Great Old One Warlock 1, or Fighter 1, or another level in the spell class casting classes you've already taken. So what does it do? Rolls dice, and tries to get favorable outcomes. For those that don't think fun can be found in failure, this class aims to stack the deck in your favor. In a video game setting where combat will be a larger focus, this concept is even more ridiculous. But please allow me to explore a bit my sense of whimsy meets Satan. First, pick Halfling as your race. Nat 1s are now 20 times less likely. Take Rabbit's Foot, sorry, misread that. Take Lucky Feet. Those natural ones are really gonna have to work hard to show up now, but you don't want to leave your party out to dry either. Bardic Inspiration, or cast spells like Bless, Bane, Enhance Ability to boost those numbers, or Fairy Fire, Blindness, Hold Person to have more dice be rolled against your enemies. Sometimes, still, those pesky shapes don't do as you intended. Portent can work for you. Substitute those in instead. Skills, you ask? You've got those. Bard gives 3, Knowledge Cleric 2 with double proficiency, Rogue gives a skill and expertise to 2. Jack of all trades adds half proficiency to every other one you don't have. But wait, there's more. 2 spells from any class list, and of course, when no one else is around, quick save real quick. Cast a Sorcerer spell. Let the Wild Magic table roll for itself and detonate a 5th level fireball to TPK your party. Reload, I promise, I won't tell a soul. Get your janky build today at the low cost of your enjoyment. Payment plans available. Offers not valid in Quebec. Sorry, zoned out there for a second. The 4th multiclass is Fighter 2 Light Domain Cleric 10. Every time I go to make a wizard/cleric hybrid, I remember that light domain exists, and while lacking the versatility of spells that is the immensity of the wizard spell list, we are definitely able to still blast quite the path forward with damage, support, and utility. Not gonna lie to you, straight up, this combination is a light domain cleric with a fighter duct tape to it. We get heavy armor proficiency, proficiency on constitution saving throws, the defense fighting style, second wind, and later on action surge. So it's a lot for a little investment, as is the case for most fighter dips. I hate to keep bringing this up, but if the multi-class caster spell level things in the game, the version I am explaining right now will be suboptimal. I know, qualifiers, disclaimers everywhere. My apologies. But back to the build. Starting Fighter 1 does delay our 2nd and 3rd level spells in Act 1, but we can still function because our healing, crowd control, and with being really hard to hit ourselves, we're everything we need to be as a healer at early tier, even if we are behind a spellcasting level. But with the next 5 levels being devoted to our deity, we really come online with the damage. Fireball is on the light domain spell list, so in combination with Spirit Guardians, we have a couple really strong first rounds of combat if it's an all-out firefight. Or, of course, you can just stick to supportive heals and crowd control spells if the enemies get the jump. Like most multi-classing builds, it's the flexibility that we enjoy. And speaking of, the next level is even better as we get Action Surge, letting us really pump the damage with our top level spell slots, or do a mix of everything. The main thing keeping us from the top tier damage dealing is that we don't have access to haste, which is ridiculously strong in this game. And that technically opens the door to Sorcerer multiclassing for Metamagic and Haste, something like Cleric 5, Draconic Sorcerer 7, or even a 5-5-2 split and keep the 2nd level of Fighter. Though those options will all delay the effectiveness of the character to an even later level in the game. Thus, why I've landed on Cleric 10. We continue to scale up as a supportive ally, always having a Fireball or Guardian of Faith in back pocket if needed. Just solid AoE to back up single target focused allies, all while being able to bring them back from the brink. Just a fun and effective build. And that brings us to the end of our list. Just 4 this time around with one meme one thrown in, just like last time. I'm sure we'll come up with some crazy combinations in the run-up to launch, but I'll save those for a video nearer to that date and instead focus on other topics in the interim. Been loving all the feedback and suggestions in the comments. Appreciate that it's remained so civil, so please keep that up, and I hope to catch you in the next one. As always, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Be safe, guys.